Yo, what's going on? So in this video, we're going to be doing a full wash, paint correction, and a ceramic coating. This is going to be a full walkthrough from start to finish and how we get this car from looking like this. As you can see, super dirty, bird poo on the bonnet there. This car has been through the ringer. And we're going to make it look absolutely amazing. I'm going to walk you through the entire process from how we get it from looking like this to almost near new. And then we're going to apply a 5-year ceramic coating to the paintwork, which is going to protect it for the years to come. So stay tuned, sit back, and hopefully you find some value in this. Let's get into it. All right, so first thing we're going to do is start on the wheels, okay? Now, I've got a bunch of tools and chemicals here, and I'll quickly explain what they are and what they're used for. First, we've got a couple buckets. One is for the wash process, and we've got some wash mitts in here for the contact wash. The second is for the wheels. So we've also got some wash mitts in here and a couple brushes for detailing the wheels themselves. Then we've got this pretty cool device right here. We've got the MJJC. This is the version 3 foam cannon, and I'm actually yet to use it, but the guys say this thing is amazing. Then we've got this pretty cool device here, which we can chop and change between using the water pressure and then the foam cannon, and it just saves time, right? So anything to save time through this process is going to be really important because time is money in this business, right? So that's there. And then we're just using a pH neutral shampoo in there, I believe. And then we've got some iron remover, which we'll spray on to do the decontamination stage, and some all-purpose heavy degreaser that we're going to use on the wheels there. So really straightforward, nothing too crazy. And yeah, so we'll get started on the wheels. You'll notice I always start with the wheels first. They're usually the dirtiest part of the car. After spraying the degreaser, I give it a good foam to let the product dwell. Then it's all about getting into the barrels and the tighter spots around the lug nuts and calipers. I use different brushes depending on the area, and then I finish off with a dedicated mitt for the face. The goal here isn't perfection, it's efficiency and a clean, consistent result that sets the tone for the rest of the job. And then go in with the long wheel brush to loosen up all the grime. Doesn't need to be perfect, just a good once over to freshen it up. Then I hit the tires with an all-purpose cleaner and then give them a solid scrub. And this helps strip off all the old dressings and preps the rubber for a fresh coat later on. Sweet, so we've done the wheels. Now we're going to move on to the body of the car. The reason why we do the wheels first is because, as you can see, we've got lots of splatter that sort of like sprays onto the body of the car. So if you've done the wheels second, you're gonna have to just go over your work twice. So we don't want to be going over our work twice. So now we're going to do the body of the car. First, we're going to rinse it. Then we're going to foam it down, do a contact wash. Then we're going to do a decon stage next. And I'll run you through that when we get to it. So once the wheels are done, I move straight into rinsing the car from top to bottom. I'm using a Kranzel KHD7 pressure washer here, paired with an MTM hydro hose setup. Super reliable and delivers consistent pressure. This first rinse helps remove loose dirt, dust, and any debris sitting on the surface. The goal here is to get as much off the paint as possible before we even touch it. That way, we reduce the risk of dragging contaminants around during the wash and avoid adding any swirl marks. Next up is the pre-wash foam. This is one of the most satisfying parts of the job, but it's not just for looks. The thick foam clings to the paint and helps break down any remaining dirt or grime sitting on the surface. I'm using the MJJC version 3 foam cannon here, loaded with a pH neutral shampoo. Now letting it dwell for a couple minutes gives the product time to work, softening up everything before the contact wash. It's all about making the next step safer and smoother. Once the foam's done its job, it's time for the contact wash. I always work top to bottom, starting with the roof, then down to the bonnet and front, followed by the windows, back, and finally the lower sides. That way, you're not dragging dirt from the bottom back up to the cleaner panels. Now, there are 100 ways to detail a car. Everyone's got their own style. The most important thing is to find a system that works for you, one that's efficient, consistent, and delivers a great result every time. After the contact wash, I give the whole car a thorough rinse to remove all the shampoo and any loosened dirt. Again, I'm working top to bottom, making sure nothing gets left behind. This rinse also gives me a chance to inspect the paint, looking for anything the wash might have missed or areas that'll need more attention during the decontamination and correction stages. So we've done the contact wash, we've rinsed it. Now we're going to spray some chemical iron remover on the car. I'm not going to use too much because we're going to do a decon stage as well. So this is a perforated clay towel. These are really good for removing contaminants embedded on the paintwork. So just for the purposes of of this video, I'm going to use the iron remover. Then we're going to soak the car again with foam. Then we're going to use the clay towel. And that'll be the decon stage. With the contact wash done, I move into the chemical decontamination stage. I'm applying a light mist of iron remover over the lower half of the car. That's usually where most of the embedded iron particles sit. No need to soak the whole car or hit the roof. This step is just about loosening those contaminants before we go in with the clay towel. Now that we've got the iron remover on the paintwork, we're going to foam it so that increases the dwell time. And then we're going to do a contact decon stage using the perforated clay towel. So after applying the iron remover, I'll layer the car again with another layer of foam. This creates lubrication for the next step and also enables the iron remover to dwell slightly longer. The next step is using a perforated clay towel. As you glide it over the paint, you can usually hear the embedded contaminants being lifted. That gritty sound is actually a good thing. It means the clay is pulling out everything the wash couldn't. Once the surface sounds smooth again, you know the panel's clean and ready for correction. Sweet, so we've pulled the car inside now and we're going to do the drying stage, make sure the car is completely dry before we can get into polishing. It's come up really nice. We've completely washed it, removed all the tar, removed all the contaminants, and now we just got to dry it. Cool, so moving on to the polishing stage, this is our workstation and I'm just going to run you through a couple of the pad and compound combinations that we're going to be using. This paintwork's not too bad. There are a few water stains, there are a few swirls, but it's definitely not the worst we've seen. So I think we probably get away with just doing one cutting stage and one polishing stage. But we've sort of got to test and measure and see what that looks like once we start. But first of all, we've got a heavy cutting compound. This is a Ruper's microfiber pad, which is great for cutting. And then we've also got a foam yellow pad, also from Ruper's. This one's great for sort of polishing or finishing or medium cutting. And we can basically finish with that as well. The compounds that we're going to be using are the 3D cutting compound from 3D, and this is for wool or foam. This is the ACA 10. So shout out to 3D, they've hooked us up, and they make some really good compounds. And then we're going to be using the medium cutting compound or the finishing compound from Ruper's. This can be also used as a one stage. This is a really good compound from Ruper's. And that's basically what we're going to be starting with. Then we're going to be prepping the paint afterwards, meaning we're going to use some IPA to clean all of the compounds off of the paint once we've finished the polishing stages. And then we're going to apply a 5-year coating. This is the Wizard coating from Fireball, and they make some really good coatings. This is a Korean brand ceramic coating. Super hydrophobic, really good quality. This is a clean pad. It's new, it's pretty dry. I'm just going to prime the pad a little bit by rubbing in a little bit of compound into the pad, just so we're not putting an extremely dry pad onto the paint. So I'll just swirl a little bit of compound into the pad, and that way the pad is primed, okay? Swirl a little around. And then we'll just do one last line. There. That's good to go. Now I'm simply just going to work in a small section, like one really small section, about 30 meters squared or so. Once the pad is primed and ready, I start with a small test section, around 30 by 30 centimeters. The key with cutting is to take your time, keep the pressure even, and let the machine and compound do the work. I'm watching for how the paint reacts, whether it's removing swirls, oxidization, or heavier defects. This stage is all about restoring clarity and prepping the surface for polishing and protection. Well, it's actually quite difficult to polish with this groove in the middle. It sort of like peaks up. And you don't want to spend too much time polishing on the top of that because the paint's typically thinner on the edge of that groove there. Cool. So I did that first section. It's come up pretty good. I'm going to go over it again once more with this same cutting compound combination. And I think that will be all it needs before we move on to the next stage. I just want to give it one more go. The first pass has already made a big difference. Most of the defects have been knocked down and the paint's looking much clearer. But I'm going to go over it one more time using the same method. Not always necessary, but doing that second pass can really help level out the finish and give a much more refined result, especially on neglected or harder paint. Look at that, almost near perfect. Much better than it was before. Can you see the difference on the camera? Yeah, look at that. Look at the difference. Between passes, I always clean out the pad using a simple pad brush. It helps remove built-up compound and keeps the pad cutting consistently. Skipping this step can cause the pad to clog, heat up, and reduce your correction power. So it's a quick but important habit to get into. So we've done the cutting stage, right? Now the paint is basically as good as we're going to get it. We're just going to remove those real micro swirls that are induced from the cutting stage itself. And this is just going to finish it up, make it look really good before we apply the ceramic coating. Okay, so the combination we're using is the yellow foam pad from Rupes, and we're using the yellow cutting compound from Rupes as well. Again, I'm just going to work in small sections, but this stage you can work in slightly bigger sections than the cutting stage, just simply because we're not cutting as much of the paint. We don't need to be as direct. Again, sort of prime the paint a little bit, prime the pad a little bit. It's not too much needed. As I'm working through this stage, I'm focusing on keeping my arm speed consistent and letting the pad do the work. You'll notice how the polish starts to go clear. That's usually a sign it's worked in properly. This part's all about finessing the finish. It doesn't take long, but it does make a big difference in the final result once the coating goes on. Paint correction is essentially controlled abrasion. We're shaving down microscopic layers of the clear coat to level out imperfections like swirls, scratches, and oxidization. But here's the thing. Your clear coat is only so thick. Every time you cut, you're removing a bit of that protective layer. So the more you cut, the thinner and more vulnerable the paint becomes. That's why it's smart to aim for improvement, not perfection. One thing to note is that the aim is to get this to 80% perfection. We're not aiming for 100% perfection, because remember, what we can see and our idea of perfect is much higher than the customer's. We want to be meeting the customer's expectation, which is most likely 80% perfection, okay? We don't have to go in and remove every single little micro speck of, imperfection, okay? Now, unless the customer actually specifically says, I want this to look 100%, and it's going to pay you thousands and thousands of dollars for it, this is the standard, right? This is as near new as possible. All right, sweet. Let's do a reveal, see what the difference is between this side that has been polished and then this side which has not been polished, and you'll see the difference. Sweet. So we have just completed the cutting and polishing process. Paint's looking pretty amazing. The next thing that we want to do is prep the paint ready for ceramic coating, because if we just apply ceramic coating on the paint now, there's residues and oils left over from the compounds, right? So we want to remove those. Now, this is just a formula. It's IPA basically mixed with water. So 50% isopropyl alcohol mixed with water. This is just an old bottle that we're using. You can just buy IPA and mix it 50% with water. It's going to give you the solution you need. It's just removing the oils, residues, so that we get a really clean surface to apply a ceramic coating to, right? Simple as. Now, you can either spray it on the panel, but I think best practice is just to spray it on the microfiber towel itself, right? So just a couple doses there, and then it's just a matter of wiping it on. Before applying any coating, the surface has to be completely clean. No polishing oils, no residue. That's why I wipe everything down with a 50-50 IPA mix. It ensures the ceramic bonds properly and doesn't lift or fail early. So we want to have a clean microfiber towel, right, that we wipe the ceramic excess off. So when it starts to flash, we want to start wiping or buffing it off, right? Leaving behind that micro thin layer of ceramic coating. These are the new applicator pads that we're actually trying out. So they're not actually foam on the inside. There's a plastic backing on the inside of this pad, preventing the ceramic coating to absorb into the pad. Right, with the panel prepped, I apply the coating using a crosshatch method. One pass up and down, then side to side. This helps evenly distribute the coating and avoid high spots. You'll start to see a light rainbow effect or small bubbles as the coating flashes. That's your sign it's bonding to the paint. Timing is everything here. Wait too long, it'll be harder to level. As soon as it flashes, I gently level the coating with a clean microfiber towel. No pressure, just enough to remove the excess and leave a smooth, even finish behind. One of the biggest mistakes I see is either rushing the flashing time or using dirty microfiber towels to level the coating. Either one can ruin the finish. Take your time and always use clean towels. Now, if you're new to ceramic coatings, I'd recommend starting with something beginner friendly. A product that gives you a bit more working time and is forgiving if you miss a spot. Shout out to Ivan LaCroix and the team at DIY Detail. They've developed some great coatings that are easy to apply and still deliver awesome results. All right, we just finished up. We've pulled it outside so we can see it under a different light. There's no sun though, but we have noticed a couple high spots. We're going to touch those up, make sure it looks good. But as you can see by the photos, it's come up really nice. We've probably spent about 8 hours on this today. We're charging the customer $1,100. He's bringing us 2 other vehicles, so we've given him a bit of a deal. $3,100 for 3 vehicles that we're going to be correcting and coating. We're going to be doing those over the next couple of days. They're basically brand new Teslas, so they're not going to take too long at all. We're just waiting for the customer to come and pick it up now. Hopefully he's going to be happy. I'm pretty sure he will be. As you can see, we've done a pretty good job on it. Let me know what you think, but enjoy. If you've enjoyed this video or learned something new, hit that subscribe button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you're looking to start or scale your own detailing business, check out the resources in the description below. I've included links to tools, products, and free trainings to help you get started the right way. Thanks for watching.